Let's talk about this gorilla that's bearing down on us, though, the environment. I think it's very, very important for the folks in this audience, the press, to be able to put all of the environmental issue into context. So let's talk about greenhouse gas emissions for a second. If you look at energy generation, one of the big contributors globally to what's happening with greenhouse gas. Add to that, when you look at deforestation, and again, the air we breathe is a global issue. Big section. When you look at agriculture, 14% contribution to greenhouse gases. Industry, another 14. And when you look at road transportation, a big chunk at 11. Buildings, just that we have, 8%. Waste, about 3. And when you get down to sea transportation, very small contribution. And overall air transportation, 2. And in the U.S., because we don't have as much deforestation issues, about 3%. So we use the term 2 to 3%. Of that transportation sector, when you look at this all together, about, when you go and do the numbers, about 14% total. But let's look at where general aviation contributes. We're talking about a sliver. In fact, that sliver is 0.2%. So it's important to have this in context. Does that mean that we don't care about the environment, that we say, oh, this isn't important? No, not at all. Because we, in aviation, because of the fact that fuel costs money and our customers don't like to spend more money than they have to, we are driven to efficiencies in our industry.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
Today, there is an affordable, high-performance, easy-to-own and easy-to-operate very light jet designed with you in mind. Far less expensive than any other twin-engine jet to buy, it is also the least expensive to own and operate. It is the Eclipse 500, the jet that's easy to buy, easy to fly, and fun to own. The jet for you.
Now, back to Aero-TV.
When you look at competition, every one of the aircraft manufacturers out here, every one of the engine manufacturers in this room that belong to GAMA are competitors in this marketplace, and their job is to do the best they can toward efficiency. And what are the factors that drive efficiency? Well, if you look at speed, you look at the payload that we can hold, you look at the range, and then you take a look at fuel burn. And the equation is just simply additive divided by fuel burn, and that comes up with efficiencies. Now, is that something we just do now? No, we've been doing this since we started building aircraft. In the 1930s, why did we move from biplanes to monoplanes? For that efficiency equation. And we constantly do that. If you look at what's happened in jet engine technology, and you look from the early days when we had turbojet engines and we switched to fans, look at the efficiency gains that we have been able to do. And when you look at the piston side of the house, our ability to go and now be able to run lean a peak and have the digital technology available even in the cockpit to be able to go and monitor cylinder head temperature, we are able to get those efficiencies as well in the piston end. But efficiencies are additive in the engine arena by also the weight of the aircraft. And that's why we've gone so aggressively, when it makes sense, to composite technologies. And that just doesn't include the actual structure of the hull structure. That includes fasteners now that are composite technologies. But we're trying to reduce weight wherever we can. GA leads the way in this capability. And then using our advanced fluid dynamics and aerodynamics to be able to go ahead and make our airframes the most efficient as possible using the advanced computing technology really makes a difference for efficiency. But efficient use of the aircraft or efficiency in the aircraft is only one part of the equation. Modernization is the second. And if we modernize the system, estimates range from 6 to 12% that we will be able to reap in efficiency just if we modernize the air traffic control system. Let me give you an example of where this makes really a poignant example for you. The Gabby 1 arrival going into LaGuardia. Now we're sitting down here in Washington, D.C., and aircraft that are overhead coming from the south that are flying this arrival over the top of us have already started their descent. They start to head down to cross at this Louis intersection, which is 180 miles away from LaGuardia at 13,000 feet. And then what do? They drive for 120 miles at 13,000 feet. Powers up, driving along, burning extra fuel. And then they go back, then they go down even lower when they pass the Brand intersection, 60 miles away from LaGuardia. Well, what would a modernized system give us? It would give us the continuous idle descent. Back in my previous life, when we pulled the power to idle, we said we were making gas, because when you pull the power back and you're letting gravity pull you down, you are not burning fuel. And you're able to, on this descent, to stay up at altitude where you burn efficiently, and to be able to go pull the power to idle, use very little fuel to come down, and then if we can get aircraft to funnel in using the technology that we talked about before with R&P approaches and ADS-B and having computer-to-computer interface, we're going to be able to get this goal, the 4D trajectory, and that is going to save us fuel and it's going to save on emissions.
Aero-TV is brought to you by Cirrus aircraft have always been easy to fly. Now they're easier than ever to buy. A complete line of ownership programs gives you everything you need to purchase, trade, finance, lease, insure, and warranty your Cirrus. There's even an ownership program for non-pilots. The Cirrus Access Pilot can teach you how to fly, or fly the plane for you. Find out more at www.cirrusdesign.com. Cirrus, for the love of flying. Now, back to Aero-TV.
Atmospheric science is totally complex, and we don't know a lot about it. If you go and you do something to one thing like CO2 emissions, you may impact NOx. And there's all kinds of variables out there. I don't claim to be an expert. The experts are out there in academia. The experts are out in the scientists that we employ in industry. But what we do know is that you can't make decisions based on emotion. And that's why our government in the US and the European Union governments have to put science toward figuring out the right answers to this. It is not something that we should base decisions on in emotion. We have this opportunity now to shape the policy of our government as we go forward into the next administration. If we go and give the science that is needed to our negotiators as they go up to ICAO, and we're able to deal with the environmental gorilla that's facing us on a global level, we will be able to make smart decisions. If we go and approach this with emotion and without the science, we will make dumb decisions that will shrink this industry or constrain it versus allowing it to grow. And that's why it is absolutely so critical that we take this opportunity during 2008 to communicate to whomever comes in this next administration that aviation has to be the priority of the next Secretary of Transportation. We need to get on with the modernization program, and we need to spend this year in 2008 focusing on getting this entire industry together, because we are all in this together. The environmental challenge is not just facing the airlines. It's not just facing general aviation or the cargo guys. It's facing us all. And if we put this front and center on the inbox of the next administration out there and say, what is the National Science Foundation doing to work with NASA, to work with the EPA, to be able to get the science, to be able to allow Dan Elwell to go up to Montreal and to be able to talk at ICAO and have the science with him to be able to go and make smart decisions. That's what we need this administration to do, and this industry has to come together to do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can focus on anything in this next year, it is bringing this industry together, working as a team to be able to go and advance modernization and move the ball forward. Thank you.